Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror and mystery film called Mother. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A woman stands amid crackling flames, with a tear falling down her face. People scream as her flesh burns to a crisp. Meanwhile, after his first wife's death, a man named him is a well-known poet suffering from writer's block. With his hands covered with dusty charcoal, he puts a crystal piece in his office. The house then goes from being burned down and run down to being a wholly renovated home. A young woman named Mother appears in his bed and, upon noticing his absence, calls out to him, calling him baby. He doesn't respond and she walks through every part of the seemingly deserted house. As she steps out onto the porch to check on him, he surprises her by approaching from behind and hugging her. Mother asks him why he didn't wake her up, to which he responds that he wanted to be alone to clear up his head for his writing. She kisses him, trying to be intimate, but he refuses and gets himself into the shower instead. She goes back to the house and continues renovating it. Mother attempts to paint one of its rooms in a variety of bright colors. As she approaches the wall, she notices scratches on it and sees a vision of a pulsating heart within it. That night, Mother joins her husband in his office while he is working on his novel. She silently observes him as he is trying to formulate some ideas when suddenly, someone knocks on their front door. A stranger named Man introduces himself as an orthopedic surgeon. The writer openly welcomes the stranger into their home without asking his wife, and he even offers some drinks. The writer is courteous to Man, but Mother is not pleased with his presence. She offers to make them some tea while the two continue chatting about her. While Mother makes tea, she experiences dizziness and hears a loud ringing in her ears, causing her to drop the cup and make a mess. The ringing suddenly stops. She serves the tea and joins their conversation. The man directs their house under the impression that it was a bed and breakfast. The stranger will stay as long as he finishes his research as a doctor. The writer invites the stranger to spending the night in their house for a while as the house is too big for the two of them alone. Mother looks surprised at how his husband impulsively acts in the situation, but she can't do anything. She reluctantly agrees to let the stranger stay. As she sees the man about to light his cigarette, she informs him that smoking is not allowed inside the house. Later that night, while Mother is in the basement to grab some linens for the visitor, she hears soft rumbles in the dark. She checks it and sees a stone wall, wondering where the sounds are coming from. As she approaches the wall, a loud stomp transpires from it, and the wood stove near her suddenly lights up with fire. She goes back upstairs and fixes the guest room. Meanwhile, the writer shows the man his office filled with his written works. The man confesses that he admires his works. Man notices the crystal piece, and when he is about to touch it, the writer proceeds to get it, telling the man that it is a fragile and extraordinary gift. He reveals that the crystal is the only thing left from ashes when everything burned down by fire when he was younger. As the man tries to touch the crystal from the writer's hand, he holds it tighter as he continues to tell the man that it gives him strength and it brings back life like how Mother does in his life in their house. The mother smiles at him. However, the man only coughs severely loud and hard. At midnight, Mother wakes up without him at her side. She rushes through the guest room, and there she sees her husband comforting the man as he continuously coughs his lungs out. She seems worried and notices a chunk of flesh missing from the man's back. Her husband immediately covers it with his hand while letting her out of the room. Despite being baffled, she sees Man's lighter and tosses it off the drawer. She hears the ringing once again and hallucinates. As she walks, the ringing grows louder and louder. She heads to the bathroom and makes her yellow drink to help her hallucinations cease. Soon enough, the insufferable ringing in her ears disappears. The next day, Mother inquires about the man's well-being. The writer tells her that the man feels better, and he's delighted to have someone to talk to who appreciates his work. The man walks in and lights up his cigarettes as if nothing happened last night. He even tells her that he feels terrific. A few moments later, the doorbell rings from the entryway. Mother opens the door, and there appears woman, who happens to be Man's wife. Man greets her with kisses, and him invites them for breakfast. Despite feeling neglected by his husband, Mother still prepares breakfast for all of them. While eating, the strange couple appears to be intimate with each other and asks them why they didn't have any kids. There is a silence for a second, and then Mother tells them that they are still too busy to have a child, and the writer supports her answer immediately. While the strange couple is away, Mother confronts him about how he summons strangers to stay in their house as long as they want without asking her permission. However, the writer just walks away. Later that day, Mother is left alone with woman while her husband and man go for a hike. The woman bothers Mother with many questions about whether she and him want children and why the mother minds fixing the house instead of buying a new one. Based on Mother's expression, the visitor confirms that it is him who doesn't want children and not her. The woman even desires to visit the writer's office, but Mother refuses to let anyone in without his permission. They do their laundry, and suddenly, the woman asks Mother about the couple's intimate life, which she doesn't answer. Woman leaves the room as the tension between them arises. After doing her laundry, Mother heads into the guest room in search of the woman. Disgusted by the mess of the strange couple, she fixes their trash and cleans the toilet. The toilet isn't working, so she plunges it, and to her surprise, an unknown creature is stuck in it. When she pokes it with a stick, blood pops and she flushes it down the toilet. While leaving the room, she sees a picture of her husband inside the man's luggage. Meanwhile, the man has another coughing fit when they return from the hike. Mother confronts him about what she saw inside the man's luggage, and him informs her that the man is dying, and he confesses to him earlier that he and his wife are huge fans of the writer. They want to meet him before it is too late. At the same time, man and woman enter his office, and the crystal piece is accidentally shattered. Feeling distraught, he orders them to leave. The writer clutches the broken pieces in his hands until he bleeds. On the other hand, Mother tells the couple to leave, but they go into another room to have an intimate conversation. Him, then, finally leaves his office, with his things covered with cloth. He knocks out its doorknob and seals the door with a large piece of wood. Mother rushes into the guest room to ask them to leave once more, and a half-dressed woman opens it, giving her an unwilling attitude. The woman says she needs to check her husband for coughing, and then she slams the door. A little while later, a young man knocks on their door. He says he is looking for her mother, who is the woman. Mother is shocked at how suddenly there are many strangers in their house. Another man arrives, who happens to be the young man's older brother. They start arguing about their father's will, and the elder son is enraged at receiving less than his younger brother. As the confrontation escalates, the elder son punches his brother, prompting the writer to intervene between them and helps to calm down the older brother. However, the quarrel continues as they rush into the bedroom, where the elder son smacks his brother's head, causing his skull to crack and bleed. Mother witnesses everything as she tries to stop them from breaking things inside her house. With man and woman following, the writer picks up the younger brother and offers to carry him to the hospital. Despite Mother's pleas not to leave her alone, him insists that he needs to be there, leaving the traumatized mother alone. Fearing that the older brother might come back, she locks every door in the house. She cleans up the blood on the floor, but there's one spot where the stain won't wash off. When she presses against it, it begins to leak blood into the basement. Mother returns to the basement to check it, and she notices blood leaking into a light bulb, which shatters upon switching it on. Blood splatters on the stone wall, forming an arc-like passageway, which she breaks with a tool, revealing a smaller dungeon. When Mother gets through the opening, she perceives a furnace oil tank. Suddenly, she hears a glass shatters from upstairs. She goes upstairs to check where it came from, and she sees a scribbled picture of his husband on the floor and picks it up. The older son, who has been hiding behind her, emerges. He simply takes his wallet and walks out of the house, wishing her good luck. She rushes to call for help, but then her husband comes home. That night, him comforts her as he sees how terrified she is from what happened. He then informs her that the younger son is no longer alive. The writer organizes a wake for the younger son in their house, with more strangers attending to pay their respects. Mother knows that if she protests against it, he won't listen to her, so she lets them hold the wake in their house. She shares her empathy with the woman, but the woman resents her, saying that the mother will never understand how she feels, for she doesn't have any child on her own. More visitors arrive, and she becomes increasingly irritated by their behavior. They do not listen to her and keep on invading their privacy, while some even try to make love on their bed. Some visitors would try to flirt with her, and someone even painted their house without her permission. Finally, when the strangers intentionally break their sink, causing the water to burst, she snaps out and orders everyone to leave. Later that night, Mother continues cleaning up their mess all over the house. She and the writer argue about their guests and how selfish he has been in deciding things without her consent. Their argument is cut short when they start having passionate intercourse. The following day, Mother informs him that she believes she is pregnant. He is delighted and now motivated to resume his writing. With the thought that everything will be all right, now that they're having their child, Mother throws her yellow drink into the toilet, hoping that she won't need it anymore. Several months have passed by, and everything seems back to normal. Mother would take care of the house while her husband is doing his work. One morning, she runs to her husband to have a look at the baby bump. She finds her husband standing on the porch, holding his finished work. They are both delighted, and while she is reading the novel, her eyes signify pure joy as she imagines his writing. She sees a vision of them in a deserted, burnt-down place, and at the moment he holds her hand, and everything brings back to life. She says that the novel is perfect. However, she wonders if she is going to lose him. The Herald, his publisher, rings their phone to congratulate him about his work. He seems busy with his work again while Mother continues fixing the nursery room and notices that there's a bloodstain on the floor again. Time has passed, and Mother is nearing the end of her pregnancy. While wearing her flowy white dress, she prepares dinner in celebration of his husband's success. Suddenly, the writer's fans begin to arrive outside their house. The writer seems so ecstatic by the compliments of his fans, while Mother is worried that they would invade their place once again. More and more people arrive at their house. She panics and locks the door. She is surprised by a woman who walks in with her toddler, who has wet his pants. So, she points them where the bathroom is. In the bathroom, she notices a man peeing in the sink, asking for some privacy. There are strangers everywhere doing the strangest things she could ever imagine. Soon, a slew of fans, including the Herald, arrive at the house, eager to speak with Mother, whom they have acknowledged as the writer's inspiration. Mother feels a pain that causes the house to shake as a result of their growing presence. Meanwhile, despite Mother's best efforts to remain hidden from the crowd, the fans begin to break and steal items from the house. On the other hand, fans seem to worship him as they fall in line with him to get marked by the writer. He looks happy and seems no remorse towards what is happening inside their home. Finally, she manages to get away from the crowd for a moment, and she sees a vision of the beating heart that turns into a half-burnt heart. She then gathers some of her belongings and decides to leave the house. While on her way out, people begin to act violently toward one another as she moves around every room. They continue to destroy their amenities, and people keep on arriving. The writer finds her and is surprised that she is leaving until she is about to give birth. They search for a room to allow mother to give birth when suddenly a cop shows up and disperses pepper spray in their eyes, breaking them apart. She continues searching for him. She then ends up in a room where people lie down, handcuffed, and their heads are covered with bags. The herald casually shoots their heads, and as they calmly converses with her. Suddenly, a massive blast that rips through the room kills the herald. As she walks through the dead bodies, a SWAT team arrives, battling the growing horde of fans. A soldier helps mother to locate a safe place. Unfortunately, someone shoots him, leaving mother behind. Afterward, the mother looks frail as she is about to give birth any time. She crawls over the remains of strangers when all of a sudden, him appears. He picks her up, and they search for a place where she could give birth. Upon their searching, they find a room full of sick people as if they are experiencing a plague. A woman recognizes the writer and worships him, drawing all the attention on them. Finally, he takes her to his office, where she gives birth to a son. The moment their baby begins his first cry, the clamors of people outside ends. There is silence for a while. He heads out to check what is happening, but he comes back with a fruit basket given by the people. He tells her that the people are waiting for him, which annoys her, and asks him to let them go, but he refuses. His desire to hold his son is strong, but the mother won't allow him to do so unless he dismisses his fans. Mother spends the entire day in the office with her son, holding him near her chest while her husband is right there waiting for her to fall asleep. When she wakes up, the baby is gone. He brings their son to show the audience, and they begin passing the baby around. The baby is crying out loud, as well as the mother as she is apprehensive about him. Suddenly, the crowd breaks the baby's neck. Mother hears it and rushes in front of the room in a panic. When she arrives, she discovers that her baby has been mutilated and eaten by the fans. Mother screams angrily, causing the foundation of the house to crack. She snatches a piece of glass and begins stabbing and slashing them until their leader grabs her and whacks her in the head with a candlestick. The fans brutally strike her and tear off her clothes, calling her names. The writer rushes in to stop them, sobbing as he holds his wife. Mother screams at him, accusing him of butchering their child. He continues to defend his fans, causing an outburst from Mother. Then, her vision of a half-burnt heart turns into a wholly burnt one. Meanwhile, Mother dashes down the stairs to the basement, where she finds the oil tank. Before taking out a lighter, she breaks it open and lets the oil flow out. Him begs Mother not to do anything, but she refuses and throws the lighter in it. Before everything around the house explodes, the entire house bursts into flames, burning everyone inside into ashes. Still, him and Mother make it out alive, but Mother is severely burned while the writer remains unharmed. Mother's body is carried out by him, which prompts her to ask who he is. He tells him he is taking her to the beginning, but he needs her love to start over. Despite everything that happened, Mother still loves him. He digs his hands to her chest and pulls out her heart, shattering her body into burnt ashes. He crushes the heart in his hands, revealing a crystal piece similar to the previous one. He chuckles to himself as he places it in the same spot in the ruins of his office. The house transforms from ruin to brand new once more. A young woman forms in the bed, calling out to her husband, exclaiming, "Baby?" Like many stories before, this represents something bigger than it is. This story is an allegory about Mother Nature and the destruction that she's experiencing, based heavily upon passages from the Bible. It begins with Mother being born from the fire, representing Mother Nature herself. She looks for her husband, him, the representation of the Creator or God himself. In this case, the house can be seen as a representation of the earth. Mother is seen constantly caring and fixing up the house, just as Mother Nature is constantly growing and building the earth as a paradise. This paradise comes to an end when man suddenly shows up, who is a big fan of him and his book. Him lets him in but doesn't allow man into his study and forbids him to touch the crystal. In this part, man represents Adam who has come to earth and reading the Bible, worshipping him or God. Him's study represents the Garden of Eden where the crystal sits as the forbidden fruit. Woman, representing Eve, arrives and makes herself comfortable in the house. When she sneaks into the study, this represents Eve being tempted by the forbidden fruit. Man and woman manage to touch the crystal and break it. Him is furious and asks them to leave. This represents Adam and Eve falling into temptation and being banished from the Garden of Eden by God. The two brothers soon arrive, representing the biblical brothers, Cain and Abel. They argue and one brother eventually ends up killing the other. The guilty brother leaves the house. This is parallel to Cain killing his brother, Abel, and leaving his home to wander for life. As they mourn the brother's death, more people arrive at the house and start misbehaving. This represents how humans are now abusing Mother Earth. The water flooding the house signifies the great flood that washed out the first humans off the earth. Mother becomes pregnant, but more of him's fans storm the house, continually destroying what Mother has built. The people don't care as they are too busy worshipping him. This means the continuous growth of humans has led to even further destruction of the earth. They are too busy preaching the words without doing all of the actions needed. A soldier tries to help Mother but he is killed. This represents the actual people trying to make a difference but is defeated by the overwhelming population. Mother gives birth to a baby boy, a representation of the birth of Jesus. Mother has given a new gift to the people, but they abuse him. Just like in Jesus' story, instead of following his words, the people crucify him, leading to his death. Mother becomes furious and starts killing off people. This signifies Mother Nature giving back all the destruction that humans have given her. The house ends up burning everyone, including Mother, except for him. He rips out her heart and takes the crystal from within. Him reconstructs everything, forming a new Mother, thus continuing the never-ending cycle of beginnings and endings. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.